Well, guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Sweden has officially done it. While everyone was distracted, this is what they're slowly trying to implement literally into your country as we speak, and this is why everything is happening by design, so that they can implement this solution. Just stick around and watch.
When Elias Brotberger goes to work, he doesn't need ID, and he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand.
Like to touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like a grain of rice.
Yeah, a grain of rice.
Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Yeah, it's all in chip, so I use it like to get around the building.
Buy snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's buy some snacks.
Exactly.
So I can't open it.
No.
Okay.
So what I need to do is I need to first blip my chip, and it will log me in, and from there I get access to the fridge.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards.
Which have made cash pretty much obsolete in Sweden.
No cash.
Process is simple and swift. A pinch of the skin, and in a matter of seconds, the chip is inserted. The transformation is complete.
In the future, do you think everyone is going to be chipped?
I think it'll be voluntary, but I am certainly convinced that millions of people will find it very, very valuable to have a smart device under their skin.
When microchipping may be our future, but in Sweden, it's already reality.
Well, guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Sweden has officially done it. While everyone was distracted, this is what they're slowly trying to implement.
Alright, all praises, honor, and glory, as always, goes to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rukaha Kodash, double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Lord willing, this one will be edifying to the elect and straight to the point. So, this Edomite looking fella here, he's absolutely right. You know, he could be a Jake, but the real point of me doing this video is because of the comments. You know, when I read the comments, it kind of, spirit prompted me to, touch on, how easy it is to just say, oh, I'm not going to take the MOTB, I'm not going to bow down to their system. I'm not going to give in. It's easier said than done, because the Lord is not dealing with you ultimately. You're going to cave in, when you're faced with the options of, taking the option of taking the mark, or else you won't be able to eat. You won't be able to pay your rent. You won't be able to pay your mortgage. You won't be able to pay for your car bill. You'll be in a position where if you don't take it, you'll be at a loss. You won't be able to live. As I mentioned, eating food, you won't be able to go to the hospital, won't be able to travel, travel around the world. Everybody likes to travel, right? You won't be able to drive out of town. You won't be able to go to concerts, whatever it may be, whatever the flesh may desire. This MOTB will be a barrier between, the conveniency of this life, the accessibility of this life. So just as we saw in the times of COVID, the vid-19, people quickly took it to save their jobs so that they can take care of themselves and their families, so that they can continue traveling. So how much more when there's more at stake, right? It's easier said than done. So you see this comment says, mark of the beast, don't do it. Can't and the ones who resist will be outcasts in society. This is a social credit system that might seem so convenient, but is a way to track your every move, right? And most of these people that are speaking, they're gonna give in. Some of them may not. It doesn't mean, even if you don't take it, doesn't mean that you're not gonna be destroyed. You still can be destroyed even if you don't take the MOTB, right? Because what matters is if you're off the elect. It's if you are numbered amongst the 1/3 or if you're 144,000 men, if you're a prophet, right? And, this comment says, this is terrifying, but unfortunately, we all knew it was only a matter of time, right? This technology has been around since late 90s. What makes it concerning is the control it can have over humanity. From Freedom to Fascism is a documentary that every citizen should watch to understand the implications and learn about the people behind this technology and their desire to control it. So the point is, people are aware, Knowledge has been increased indeed in all corners of the earth, everywhere on the planet Earth, especially under Esau's rulership. People are in the know. People are not so clueless, right? This person says the mark of the... And it's crazy because you have other camps that they can't seem to just put their pride aside to just admit, and accept the truth that this is indeed the MOTB. But you have people that are not, in the truth, or people that don't fancy themselves to be in the truth. They clearly know, right? The beast system here. But back on topic, man. A lot of these people, they're going to talk tough. They're going to say, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to do this. Blah, blah, blah. But at the end, they're going to give in. Because when faced with these decisions, when faced with life, in their eyes, because they want to continue living in this world. They want to continue using the convenient means, that they have at their disposal. They want to continue, as I mentioned, traveling, shopping at the malls, buying all these nice things, going to the dentist, paying for their children's, paying for their child's school expenses, and all these things that these humans on this under the sun today deem as important, right? But this one wasn't in the queue, this scripture, but I'm gonna get it. Through the Spirit. Right, so let me see which one I'm going to start. Right, so this is Luke chapter 9, verse 24. And it says, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Right, and in this context, we're talking about the MOTB. A lot of people are going to seek to save their life, right? They're going to seek to, choose sides with the beast. They're going to bow to the beast. I'm going to say it that way. They're going to bow to the beast, and that's them saving their lives. But it also goes and says, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. And, if you're not a believer, if you don't know, if you don't understand what this is saying, for the ones that don't, it's saying that if you choose, well, ultimately the Lord chooses you, but if you don't seek to save your life by taking the MOTB, by taking the mark, and you trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, you trust in God, you're ultimately choosing, or hoping for salvation, you're and that will save your life because you will be delivered, right? That's what it's saying here. If you don't seek to save your life, and you worship Yahweh Hashem Yahushua sincerely, and you praise Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, you pray and hope, and your mind is on salvation and not on this life, and not on the fleshly things, the vain things, the trivial things of this life, and your focus is on salvation and deliverance and the righteousness that will be in the kingdom, then you'll ultimately be saved. But if you yourself, the Lord puts that spirit on you to go to Esau for your deliverance, you know, by taking that implant, you know, by getting that implant, you know, by registering yourself into that beast system, right? You will lose your life, right? So while you're you know, you believe that you're saving yourself and your family's lives as well, and you're making this sacrifice so that your daughter can eat, so that they cannot suffer, right? You're actually going to lose, right? But he who loses his life, meaning loses this life, you know, this carnal life, this vain life, right? Because the scriptures speak about, the Lord says, the carnally minded cannot let me just get it. I don't want to butcher it. Right, so this is Romans chapter 8 verse 7. Because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High, for it's not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. Right? And I'm going to read some more. There's more down there, but I just want to get the word enmity here. So opposition, you know, that's opposite to what the Lord likes, you know, what the Lord ordained as righteousness, you know. I'm going to say it that way. And verse 8 says, so then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. So the ones that are in the flesh, they're going to take the MOTB when things get rough. You know, they're going to say, I can't take this no more. I can't eat. What's the worst that can happen? You know, as scripture speaks about a double-minded man, the majority of these people in the world are double-minded. They may talk a good talk now, or they may, you know, talk tough. Oh, I'm not going to take that. There's nothing. And then when it comes down to it, when it starts getting rough in the flesh, you know, when they start feeling that, you know, the effects of famine, you know, no water, they're thirsty, they can't get any clean water, you know, they can't get any clean water to drink or shower, right? You know, they have, you know, they have injuries and they need medical care. There's a lot of things, man. You know, I can only pick from what's coming out of my mind, but the scriptures speak about Jacob's trouble. It's going to be a time that has never been before. So you're going to have, you know, hurricane type of weather, you know, tornadoes, tsunamis. There's going to be everything in one. You know, there are going to be animals everywhere, you know, dangerous animals. You know, there's going to be a lot of evil spirits. You know, it's going to be enhanced. There's already a lot of evil spirits out there, but in the time of Jacob's trouble, you know, in the hour of temptation, it's going to be a very terrible, difficult time. So people can speak as if they're just going to be so strong and mighty, but ultimately, if you don't have Yahweh Shem Yeshai with you, you're going to give in. The Lord is going to give you over to the lust of your flesh, right? It's going to be times you're not going to have a meal, and then you're going to want a meal. You know, you're going to get tired of eating, you know, dirt or whatever it may be at the time, man. As it says, you know, it's a time that we've never experienced. We can only read and interpret the times to come, but just know that it's not anything to take lightly, because if you don't have Yahweh Shem Shai, you're through. You know, you won't survive. And you people don't have Yahweh Shem Shai. You people don't believe in Yahweh. You know, you people call on God and you don't know the name of your Savior. And his name is not God, his name is Yahweh. And his son's name is not Jesus, his name is Yahweh Shai. So you people are far away. You people don't have that covering of Yahweh Shem Shai, right? You know, and I pray and I hope that I have this covering, you know, forever until the kingdom, right into the kingdom, right? This is not like we brothers that, believe and have the truth right now. We know that it's not of ourselves. We know that we haven't made it until the end. But for damn sure we believe and hope that we will. That's what we hope for. We don't hope to save our lives, to take no damn mark, pertaining to Revelation chapter 13, to continue living in this wicked ass world. Nah, you can chop our head off. You can chop our heads off. You can do what you must. At the end of the day, what we hope for is that spirit to endure and fight, and cling on to, the hope for salvation, so that we may be delivered and beamed up into the chariots and receive the promises, be, in the first go around, be a part of the first fruits, that we are those first spirits created, that we are those 144,000 men, or that we are members of the 1/3. However it may be, that's what we cherish. That's what's important to us. That's the life that we want. We don't want Esau's help to save our life, But it says, but ye are not in the flesh, but in the spirit, if so be that the spirit of God dwelleth in you. Now, if any man have not the spirit of Yahushua, he is none of his. Right? So you people that are talking, most of you people in the comments, most of you people that say, I'm not going to take that. No, I'm not going to do that. You're talking now. I remember having a conversation with this guy. He's big into crypto, and he has made a lot of money from cryptocurrencies, right? And he's so into it, like he worships it. But he's not going to see it that way. And I was telling him, that this thing is going to get down to a point where you won't be able to access your crypto unless you have this device, or you get an implant. And well, that's when I'm going to cut it off. Easier said than done, because the lifestyles that these people live, it's going to be so much more difficult for them to give it up when they're losing their woman, they're losing their family. They're going to see it and they're like, nah, I can't. I work so hard for this. I'm not going to just give this up. So the lust of this life is going to cause you people to be destroyed, because you're going to want to hold on to this, this facade, this world that Esau has for you, this comfortable lifestyle, the conveniency of the lifestyle that Esau has created. The lifestyles, because there's different lifestyles, people love to feel comfortable. They love the comfort of doing things that are easy. In Babylon the Great, it's so easy to order things on Amazon. You get it the next day. They go to the mall, the healthcare system, the customer service, in these first world countries are great, So it feels pleasing to the flesh. It's satisfying. So it's easy to see, and it's easy to understand why you people are going to give in to the beast, because you're not spiritually discerned. You're not one of Yahushua's. You're carnally minded, right? And again, let me just jump to verse 7 again. Verse 6, for to be carnally minded is death. This is Romans chapter 8, verse 6. But to be spiritually minded is life and peace, right? Eternal life, right? Because there's going to be some of us that will never die from this lifetime straight into the kingdom, There's some of us, we're not eternal yet. We're still in fleshy bodies, but some of us will never die on this side, or ever die. We'll never taste of death, in this lifetime, going into the kingdom, and that's a fact. However, the ones of us that will be beheaded, for Yahushua's sake, I'm butchering it, but you know what I mean. We will be resurrected, man. those of us that are, we will be raised right back up, and right into or eternal, immortal lot, of as gods, under the rulership of Yahushua, King David on down, right? And that's how it's gonna be. So let me get into some of these scriptures that I have prepared. Because this is what's going to happen. So this is Proverbs chapter 14. I don't know why I put a 1 there. Like there's any first Proverbs. All right, so let's get this. So this is Proverbs chapter. There we go. Looking for verse 12. All right, so this is Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12. It says, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And that's what's going to happen, man. When you people think that, okay, I'm doing this to save my daughter's life. Sarah needs to eat. I can't have her suffering. I'm going to make a sacrifice for her. It's going to seem right to you. Even at first you're like, nah, I'm never going to do that. But the way how the Lord is going to have it be for some of you people, you're going to be like, but I don't want, it's my daughter. I have to make the sacrifice. I can't have her suffer. The right thing to do is not give in and have that child suffer. But a lot of you men are going to give in because you're weak. You're weak for your children and you're weak for your woman. So you're going to think it's right, but it's not going to be the right decision because it's death. Death is going to come for you. You're going to eat a missile. You're going to be burnt to death. You're going to receive a grievous sore, a cancerous sore that will kill you, as it's written in Revelation, man. And Lord willing, we get that as well. Right? So that's the point, man. That's the point with it, with that. Let me get Matthew. A lot of you people are going to convince yourself that, this is the right thing to do. In that time, you're going to be like, yeah, what's the worst that could happen? It's just an implant. I can take it out. You're going to have that HOI mindset, a dumbass mindset, like the Lord's not going to judge you. It doesn't matter. You're not supposed to take it. It's the mindset. It's the thought. It's the intent behind why you're taking it. You're not trusting in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. You say, nah, what the heck? Just like how, General Butt Boss, he said, go ahead and take it. The Lord don't care about no damn microchip. That's his mindset, telling you the Lord don't care about no micro. Of course he does. He specifically told us not to take it. So why wouldn't he care? All right, so this thing is bugging out. Let me try to use a concordance. So this is Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. And it says, enter ye in the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. Many there be which go in thereat, right? Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. So verse 13 again, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. So the gates of destructions is very big. There's a lot of options that will lead you to destruction, man. All of these different things that you want to save your life for, to continue living, your dreams to be a millionaire, to own your mansions and, your Lamborghinis and your your trips around the world, right? And there's nothing wrong with traveling, but how much are you willing to give up? How much does it matter to you spiritually? Is it something that you prioritize over Yahweh Hashem Yahushai? Of course, you people prioritize everything over Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and that's what's going to lead to your destruction, right? Because you're not entering through the straight gate, you're entering through the broad gate, right? So you're going to be destroyed, and that MOTB is in that broad gate. That's what you people at the end of that broad gate will be, the MOTB, and that will be the only option you people have to cling on to this world, to continue living in Esau's wicked world, so that you can continue doing all of the wickedness that you've been doing, and I'll say it like this: all of us are functioning in this world right now, currently, and we do things like, if we need assistance from these doctors, these so-called physicians today, we go and we get help, right? And if we need food, we can go to the supermarket, and if we need to pay our rent, we can pay our rent directly to different apartment buildings or landlords, however it's set up. However, and we can travel by buying plane tickets and going to the airport, and that's it. That's fine. But in the world to come, in the next few years, it's not going to be like that. You're going to have this mark. But that's where we draw the line. We don't care about that shit no more, because it's not that important. But for you people, it's very important. You people are going to comply and get implanted so that you can continue living. And that's not actually living. That's not actual life. Because you people don't understand the gifts. People don't understand the truth and the scriptures and what real life is, how life is supposed to be, and how important Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is. You have no clue. Right? And verse 14 says, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. There's few that find salvation, man. There's few that find this truth. There's few that finds Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and sincerely believes in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Right? And that's where you want to be. You want to be numbered amongst the few. But you can't make yourself numbered amongst the few. The Lord has to ordain you, has to choose you. That has to be your lot. So no matter what you do, if that's not you, there's nothing you can do. I don't know if that's you. I don't know if that's me. However, you got to strive for it. It starts somewhere. That's why we, hopeful men of the Lord, we do these videos, because when the sincere believers hear these different videos from the men of the Lord, it sparks. That's how the Lord communicates to you. That's how the Lord brings you in, if you're one of those few, right? So that's the whole point of the watchmen. That's the whole point of the men of the Lord, to speak on behalf of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So let me get let's see if the BLB is working. No. Yeah, Romans 16. All right, so this is Romans 16 and verse 18, and it says, for they that are such. All right, so let's see. Verse 17, now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division and offenses contrary to the doctrine which you have learned, and avoid them. So we avoid these other camps that do not teach the MOTB 100% correctly. They don't teach the truth correctly. We avoid them. They're not warning you people not to take this device. Do not get implanted. Do not bow down to Esau. Do not take Esau's mark. Do not get implanted by Esau, by taking the MOTB, by taking the RFID, by taking the BCIs, different BCIs, coming from Synchron, coming from Elon Musk. I forgot what his one is called, right? The Neuralink. These men are not warning you people, right? So we avoid them because they're contrary to us. We rebuke them as well, right? So verse 18 says, for they that are such serve not Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. They serve not Yahushai, but their own belly, right? And by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. So they encourage you. They encourage the deception, right? They lead you in a ditch, right? Scripture speaks about the blind leading the blind. What does it say? It says that they shall both fall in a ditch. So if they don't wake the hell up, they're going to be destroyed as well. All right? And this is a time that's coming. Back onto you people that, talk a good talk. Oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So this is 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3. And it says, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. But watch thou in all things, endure affliction, do the works of the evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. And in this case, the ministry, one of the most important things that we speak on is the MOTB. Revelations chapter 13, verse 16 on down. We warn you people, we tell you people not to take this, Great Millstone, man, the men of Great Millstone, we continuously warn you people not to take part in this, but you people are going to follow your own bellies, when you're faced with choices, when you're faced with the reality that you're gonna lose your so-called riches and possessions and the access to certain things. You're gonna give in, and the Lord is gonna destroy you because you're weak. You're not one of His. You want to continue living in this wicked world, like your spirit is not really what's the word I'm looking for? Your spirit is not detached from this society. You're living a double life. 1 foot here, 1 foot there. You're not really willing to give it all up when that time comes. Because I understand them, I'm not speaking like we don't do anything in this life. We don't like nice cars and, like having a nice spot or whatever it may be. But it's not that important. It's just for the flesh, man. It's just because you have to give the flesh something, because that's just the balance of life. But we don't really give a fuck. But you people really care, man. You people really, really care. You people are not really for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You're just talking a good game. And it goes for everyone, man, not just the people outside of the truth. This is for everyone, right? You listen to men that fancy themselves prophets that have that worldly spirit that gives you that worldly vibe to make you feel all right with certain things that's not okay. They're not pushing the mindset on you that, to detach from this world. They're not pushing the detachment of this world. It's like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out type of thing. They're pushing a very feminine spirit because that's how women approach things. Women always have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. That's a feminine spirit. So you got to be sure. You can't be double-minded in this thing, man. You got to be fully persuaded. You got to be 100% in with Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? And anything that interferes with Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, you got to let that go. And the Lord will always show you that through the Spirit. If He's dealing with you, you'll be able to see it clearly if anything is not good, for your relationship with the Lord, for your walk, me see what else I have here. Before I read Revelations, I'm gonna just read this in the Apocrypha. All right. So this is Sirach chapter 5, verse 7, and it says, Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. And this is what's going to happen to you people, because you feel so secure in this life. You know, you feel so secure in Esau's rulership, under Esau's rulership, you know, under his queendom, you know, you're so comfortable. You know, you feel, you know, as I mentioned the word secure, because it's in this verse. You people are content with the madness, man. You people want to continue living in the madness, you know, and growing in the madness. You know, not growing in the spirit, not turning to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and growing through Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? And improving spiritually while the Lord hands you, you know, small wins here and there. No, you people are fully on the left-hand side, fully tapping into the energies of the left-hand side, not turning to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And this is solely for you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You don't truly believe in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You worship your flesh and Esau more than the Lord, right? And that's a lot of people. You know, they honor the Lord with their lips, but spiritually they're so far away from the Lord, man. And that's what's going to happen, as it says, thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. Why? Because you didn't turn to the Lord. And that's just a judgment ultimately, because you can't make yourself do it. But if the Spirit is prompting you to do it, then you should take heed, because this is a spiritual thing. The Lord is not going to come down and tell you anything to your face. He's going to use the men of the Lord. Simply put, man. So I'm going to just close with Revelation. Because you people are going to talk a good talk. You know, it's going to be more evident that, that the Charagma is the RFID chip indeed. Right? So this is Revelation chapter 13, Salakia, verse 16. And it says, He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So if you don't have this mark, you won't be able to buy or sell. That's what we're mentioning. You won't be able to eat. You won't be able to survive. Or will you? You can survive through Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You won't be able to survive in Esau, the so-called white man's kingdom, under his rulerships, under his rules and regulations. You know, you won't be able to use his means. But spiritually, if you're with Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, the Lord will protect you. As it mentions, they shall starve and they shall thirst, but my servants will eat and drink, roughly paraphrasing. So you got to trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. But in Esau's world, the world that we're living in right now, it's going to be difficult. You won't be able to continue living in that world if you don't take this mark. And we're here to tell you that you should not take that mark, right? No matter what state you're in, trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You know, in verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And when you go into that word, Charagma, you know, it's let me just pull it up. Right, the word Charagma is a physical mark. Right? And then when you're going to the word, the root word of Charagma, which we're going into recently, is Karaso. and it's just something that we always overlooked, and the word karax comes from the word karaso. Karaso is actually the action of, doing, the implant, and the karax is the device. The karax is the device that's used, the pail, the stake, that syringe, that surgical instrument. And then when you go into the root word of karax, you're going to see grapho. And grapho goes into information that's not to be forgotten, information that's saved, saved on a cloud, a database, your information, all of your governmental information, your personal information, your KYC information, your medical information, your credit report, everything that's relating to your identity. That's the grapho, right? Verse 18, and he says, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And this is a 666 that people are so obsessed with. And it's just, the number has demonic vibrations on the left-hand side. The number is not evil per se, but it's used in witchcraft and pagan worship a lot. And Esau uses it in his systems a lot. He uses it, subliminally. It's on the barcodes. He uses it on, even the image for Google has, the 666, but that goes into marking, Chi Psi stigma. Stigma goes into, branding and putting a mark on you people, and Esau targets you mentally first with these subliminal messages, and now he wants to physically imprint you, to stamp you as one of his, because he wants to be like God, right? Let's see if this Wi-Fi will allow me to go into this, but I'll just leave it there, man, because the judgment is destruction. The judgment is thermal nuclear fire. Your tongues and your eyes will dissolve into your face, roughly paraphrasing, and you people receive sores from taking this mark, right? So the choice is really not yours. The Lord is going to deceive who is supposed to be deceived, and the Lord is going to save who needs to be saved. But if the Spirit is working with you, when you hear these videos and you're of the elect, you're going to wake up, and you're going to take heed. But if not, you're just going to be destroyed. You're going to hiss your teeth and say, I'm going to go to Dubai. I'm going to buy that plane ticket. No chip is going to get in the way of me living my life. And that's a wrong mindset to have. That's why women, and even you women, you proud women that love to live this luxurious life, this flashy life, traveling all over the world, doing all kind of abominable things for money, and these perks that you get, cars, houses, by doing foul, nasty, degenerate things. You women are going to take the mark as well, because you do much worse for money. You do worse things. Well, it's not worse. Nothing is worse than taking the MOTB, but with the mind of you people, you're going to see it as something as simple as a tattoo. Oh, just get an implant. You people are already bored. You have all of these, septum piercings and all of that shit. It's going to be so simple for you women, man. That's why the scriptures speaks about a man being a hiding place, because a man is going to be that guidance and that moral compass for you women in the time to come. But a lot of you women won't be saved. There's more women on earth than men. So ultimately, a good chunk of you women will be saved, but majority of you will be declined as well. A a lot of you women will be turned down because the Lord is going to put the spirit on men of the Lord not to cover you women. And even though you took your MOTB, ultimately a lot of you women will be used. Some of you may be used in the time to come. You know, with this device for the Lord, you know, the Lord probably has it where women like you will be, you know, giving, you know, the men of the Lord certain things at that time. You know, obviously using, you know, that gift, you know, being Yaquab, you know, we can supplant. So the Lord will have it where things are happening in different ways. But you women are going to be destroyed, man. All you women and men, children that take the MOTB, you're going to be destroyed because you have been warned. But I'm going to leave it there. And as always, all praises, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rukaha Kodash, Abad Babal.